doing very well. We've been doing extremely well during the COVID period with the surge in productivity, new work, growth of numbers. We had to absorb into a remote condition. That wasn't easy, but we had a bumper financial year in terms of overall turnover and profit. And then this year, last year was the first COVID year. The second COVID year is still very good, slightly reduced. We're still over 500. A lot of work in China and other Asian countries, mostly China though still. So that's been really pulling us along. And now currently there has been a slowdown. There has been the recent re-lockdowns in China, maybe the political situation with the conference and re-election or reconfirmation of Xi Jinping. It seems that there was certain uncertainty, also the real estate crisis. We're not working on residential, but we've seen it harder and much more competitive to get new jobs. Competition rules changed. So now there's an initial open stage with hundreds of competitors coming in, and then they're nearly delivering full submission to then bring it to the usual shortlist of 5, 6. The track record doesn't count so much, and you can imagine a jury being swamped by hundreds of submissions. They look for the key image, so it's been harder to fill up and keep filling up the order book, and we're still having great projects, new projects as well, but it's tougher. We have to invest more, but we're in a good position to do so. We had a lot of things going on in Russia, and we have been building up relations in Russia for years and years and years. And as you know, Zaha was a huge fan, Russian avant-garde. We've visited Russia so many times, and we had so many friends, and we have some fantastic projects. And it's a huge shame and frustration for us to be, that we cannot continue, and it hurts us that we can't be loyal to our clients. It's a real dilemma, and I think it's a huge problem one has to think about in terms of this kind of collective punishment of all sorts of clients, concert halls and other venues, residential projects, office projects, hotels, etc., which are in different cities unrelated to the hostilities, and that kind of sanctioning or impossibility of moving money is deeply frustrating for us, because we're really giving up on half-finished projects, on competitions we won. It's a big dilemma for us and a big setback. And the same as Ukraine, we had a number of projects. Of course, that's a tragedy what's going on, the destruction there. And I have to say one thing, that for me it's incomprehensible that that wasn't averted through diplomacy ahead of the time, because these signs were very strongly there, and then it wasn't foregrounded that immediate negotiations and compromise settlements should stop this, and the second day, third day. So I have a huge frustration also in this respect, with respect to this government, the UK government policy and media coverage, not pushing for negotiations and settlements, and just witnessing the destruction of Ukraine is an absolute tragedy. So yeah, it affects us, but that's not the main thing. It affects the world in many ways. I mean, we can absorb it. Our main market is, as I said, China. We are very, very dependent, so we're looking for other territories. We've been looking around a lot in the US, following a lot of leads and doing visits, making contacts. Middle East, of course, is another thing which is going strong, and we've always been embedded and popular in the Middle East. Zaha wanting to give back to the Arab world, and that's still recognized. So that's another market we have. But the worry that the China market could be compromised just through the political situation, or also through voices coming from the UK government, and which are picked up highly sensitively in China. And I get feedback from what's going around in the Chinese media and on WeChat, even in our profession. And some speeches of Liz Truss, for instance, even pre-Conservative campaign, were going down very, very badly, and have been massively kind of commented on, and I worry about that. Let's say China trashing talk is, doesn't serve a lot of good purpose, I think, but ultimately it must be progressive and ever expanding economic relations, which we must rely on with China. We are still expanding. We're learning to build new capacities. For instance, airports. A bid for Warsaw Airport, which was a massive undertaking, capacity building. But we have been relying on every being around the world so that we can compensate for problems, like the 2008 meltdown with losing Dubai, and then using Europe 2 years later. The Arab Spring another year later, losing a lot of North Africa. Then we were big in Australia, and that falls off when the Chinese money, politically stopped flowing in, which was underpinning these projects. Market shifts in the US, where our Miami and New York operations had to pull back because the market swung away, which is partly also with political decisions. So we have to be very agile. We have to be around the world and finding our clients and have always the chance to compensate. One thing is sure, the China market could never be compensated for. So if this somehow gets rattled, we have to be in a serious cutting. So far, we've never had to do that, except for Arab Spring. We had a relatively decisive cut in numbers, because we literally were everywhere on the North African coast, literally every country, with projects and sometimes multiple projects, like in Egypt, and all of that stopped. So there we had to slice into the flesh. And of course, we would love to do more here, and our big hope is on the Vauxhall Cross, on the Twin Towers there. And it's been difficult. It took way too long in planning, 3.5 years or more, and turning every stone and going through many hoops and loops. Once we've gone through the local approvals, then the central government pulled it in and had another round of delays. The amount of intricate vistas from various places, particularly around Westminster, how the cluster will look. It's arcane, nearly. But so I find this highly problematic, because, and then negotiations around affordable components, and whether this should offices, hotel, residential, what kind of residential, this kind of slicing and dicing and redesigning, endless loops, because of negotiating with the planners and then not getting planning. That's been really detrimental, because this took so long that we reached a point when then the investment was no longer viable or was pulled out for other reasons. When we hit COVID, for instance, so having gone for 4 years of planning and then not proceeding after we finally had planning, it was just way too late. So this kind of scenarios, and I've seen it with many others in London, is really what is holding back London in many ways, and is in a sense contributing to the affordability crisis, etc. And but we're still on it. We value engineering and we're refining. It's a fantastic project. So I think once this is built, we're going to have that credibility. We're delivering something beautiful. We're delivering something which also will be economical. And it's because we had so many contacts and so many opportunities with so many of the developers. In the end, they never made the step to commission us, whether it's with Canary Wharf Group or with Mike Hassey or XYZ, and we've been going around and showing our preparedness, willingness, and showing what else we've done around the world. But London is still there's this another threshold of, being accepted into the fold and getting these great projects. And they're fantastic projects. If I look at the City of London, I love it. The Leadenhall Tower, Swiss Re was one of the first kind of fantastic things, but the Leadenhall Tower, the walkie-talkie, which I love too. There's some fantastic towers and the huge dynamism. I love that. We would love to be part of it. The chart is also not a bad piece. So something we would like to contribute, and and also what happens in Canary Wharf. So it would be great. I think Vauxhall is fantastic and will deliver hopefully the next chances, because I think we should be doing something here. We are investing in metaverse development, which is itself a huge market for us, and with very many clients already, with our own project where we're partnering in with the Liberland Metaverse, for instance, which we're starting to use for events, sessions, mostly promoting tenants to come in. So I do believe that will become more and more convenient and convincing, compelling, where you can have everything you have in Zoom by throwing up screens, but multiples, and mill around before and after a session. It's pretty nice for lectures, conferences. You have intermissions, or you can pull away to chat, or you then have a little bit of stalls, different rooms with different participants in the conference having their stall and screen. And for side talks, it's a bit like the London Real Estate Forum. We could host it in a place like Liberland Metaverse, which is a great. So we call it the incubator building. It's a very nice building with a lot of intervisibility, inter-awareness of different spaces, and it's fun to roam around and poke your nose into different maybe gatherings which take place. We want to fill it with permanent tenants. We're looking at various targeted the crypto ecosystem and NFT galleries. We have a number of art galleries wanting to come in, but also designers, car designers, fashion designers who also want to have NFT kind of related activities, DeFi banks and DeFi projects want to come in, and then also a number of think tanks around crypto and libertarian kind of virtual society projects, this kind of thing. So it's a cultural, highly targeted niche market we want to bring together because they would love to see each other. Maybe each other's event would be relevant, each other's visitors would be relevant to each other. So this kind of co-location synergies which are generate. It's initially in one large building, but then there is nice public spaces and the urban core where larger corporates in the space could also pick up whole buildings. But it's by invitation at the moment only, because we're using it for special events or for inviting future tenants. You can have exhibition spaces, you can run videos, all these nice interviews could be streamed there. Yes, we have our own ZHA Code computational design group, which has been focusing on developing design tools which anticipate geometric constraints coming through different manufacturing processes, whether it's 3D printing or hot wire cutting, or metal folding, so develop surfaces for sheet metal. And so we have set up some interesting collaborations. The Block Research Group is fantastic partner based in Zurich with a very sophisticated set of tools they're developing and techniques and big factory style experimental shops. And they're coming out also with fantastic products like super light concrete floor panels, which are vaulted in a waffle grid like, super thin and without any reinforcement, nor fibers, and just working in compression, and the tension is taken out in cables that run into joints, and they can go up to 8-meter pieces. There are already some. So the carbon footprint, the embodied energy is kind of just of concrete coming down, tumbling down, and this already can be used for towers. So these kind of collaborations are important, and the work with tensile and shell structures, lightweight structures, and also getting some of these complexities we're usually working with manageable through a kind of workflow, design and fabrication workflow. For instance, like the bridge, it was also this is kind of a compression only printed masonry, if you like, with that very, very kind of efficient green concrete. So, but there are many projects like this we've been doing over the years, and we're trying. And then this team also scales up. So, for instance, the Xi'an Stadium, the roof is super lightweight, and with optimized geometries, So this team is now moving from experimental to larger scale structures, like we've done with tensile structures when we had, first very, very small experiments, and we did the serpentine sackler, then we scaled up, for instance, Tokyo Olympia Stadium would have been a kind of interesting tensile roof, which works not with pylons like in photo, but with compression arches and then stretching between those. So this is a kind of research we're promoting, and we have another set of research groups more into social occupancy modeling with agent-based models to get a handle on complex social processes and how to optimize them with respect to client success criteria. I mean, we've took the time to renovate this, make this kind of slick and elegant, and emphasize a lot social spaces. There's a lot of nice spaces to hang out, to gather, to meet. It's deliberately smaller than covering everybody for the full week in terms of seats. So it's a hot seating booking system, and because we think going into the future will be a mixed mode, partially working from home. A lot of the things you head down from home was super productive in the COVID. The discovery was fantastic. But we want to encourage people to come back for meetings, to socialize, to communicate, to have cultural diffusion of ideas. And I'm going around and seeing what people are doing is better than waiting for them to schedule updates with me, so I can find all the hidden ongoings, which shouldn't be hidden. So I'll come in more. It will be mixed mode, and so we will have Patrik Kutschers and events and breakfasts to entice to show up. Except if there's a particular meeting you're called upon to be part of. But even then, whether it's SMTs or even board meetings, sometimes we have mixed mode, remote joining. So that's will continue. I think nobody wants to go back.